So Grandpa said when he got off the bus, got out there, he hopped off of the car box, and he didn't know which way to go or what to do. He was weak, but he was not cold. He said it was nice and warm down here. But he was a lucky one. He didn't have an own ID, and the white folks didn't pay him too much attention. They felt that he was maybe one of the chauffeurs or something down in Valdosta. Cause you know, they look for that dog tag, that dog. We call them dog tags, but then it was like a lot. You came for a plantation that you came from. So he said that was a preacher and his wife, a nice looking bug and everything. So they came up and they started talking to him, and so he was telling them about what happened. They hid him. They didn't know what they didn't know whether someone was after him or what. Grandpa said so. They had him to get in the buggy and they covered him up with a blanket. They gave him some food, and so he went over to a place to call Wiggum, Georgia. And there was a lot of free blacks in Wiggum that owned their own farm and everything. So it was exciting there, and that's where he got his start. But see, he never worked on a farm. Grandpa never worked on a farm until he hooked up with one. Grandpa always worked for himself because he chipped boxes, and then he coming up with 16 kids, and all of them only 7 of them lived. The rest of them died in childbirth. Wiggum. Well, when he got to Wiggum, he started to. The pastor he was not a farmer. He owned. I think I don't know whether they owned the farm or not, but he was a minister. He was a big time minister, and Grandpa started working for a turpentine company. And turpentine, you don't. You know what turpentine is? You know where it comes from. Where it comes from. Okay, but. It was not by the hour, by the day or anything. They would do so much. They would give you a certain territory, and you would scrape the bark, and you're paid by the number of buckets of turpentine, or either by the barrel. But I think Grandpa and them was basically renting theirs, so they made a little bit more money rather than doing it just by the bucket. Well, by the bucket is when you're working for someone else, and because Grandpa and them used to pay people by the bucket, so that means they were being paid by the barrel. But it was a few years, and so he got married and had all kinds of kids, and I don't know. I have not found out how I didn't learn how he got up to North Georgia, because see. Oh, yes, I do. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. He did tell me, because he used to talk about this lady all the time. This was, and I think they must have owned they must have been like, like companies rent and lease areas like farms and all that. I think the Altmans, that's what they were doing. They were big time turpentine, like a still, and. But the Grandpa moved. After his wife passed away, his first wife with all the kids, which was my dad's mom. Then they were the ones who moved away to up around Warwick and Doles, but I think Grandpa meant more. They were farming. My grandmother was catching the devil. Because she had married an older man, and which is, my mom, and Mom used to tell a story that I don't sure how they did not have food some days. They wouldn't have anything but cornbread, no milk. They were working for this white man well, he was a slave owner too, big time slave owner, but he had a lot of, he done impregnated a lot of black women who worked on his farm, so he had little what do they call them, Pekingese? What do they call, but anyway, they're half-breeds all over the place. And my grandmother's dad was one of them. He was half and half. But my grandmother, which my grandmother's mother was just, she was an Indian, black Indian, real dark. Her name was Mary. She was super dark. So, but she more married an old guy who was my grandmother, who was like mother's mother, was, I think he was 37 years older than my grandmother. 37 years. And so that then when they got married, she was 18. She was glad to get away from that white man's plantation. She was glad. So she went to, she married my my mom's dad. That's so. My grandmother had 3 kids, which was mother, Johnny, mother, Ree, and Johnny. And by doing that, he became ill. I think he must have had his own farm. I don't know what happened there, but I know that mother and them said they was catching the devil. She went to school. My mother, she finished the 3rd grade as his 4. She went